Please, listen to me.
You will be prevented.
Total event collapse. Every sun will supernova at every moment in history. The whole universe will never have existed. Please listen to me.
For this review of the BBC programme set in the Who universe called Class, I will be taking you through episode 1, the story and the plot, to set up my full thoughts, feelings and opinions on this series as a whole. This is so I can try and remain as spoiler free as possible, but still give you a great idea of what the actual series has to offer if you are interested in taking a look at this show. This is actually my second time watching this show through because I bought it on Amazon Prime Video, but recently it has become available again on BBC iPlayer for anyone that is interested. I'd explain this series overall as a teen action drama sci-fi that is suitable for the 18+ demographic. So with that said, let's take a look at episode 1 and let's talk about the setup and the story and the plot.
Think you know what waits for you here? You think the same plan will work? But I am what waits for you! And I am war itself!
So let's talk about the series setup. With Charles the Prince of Rhodia and Miss Quill, a rebel for the Quill race, they are from two warring races that occupy the same planet. They are forced to come together because their home planet was invaded by the Shadow King, the big bad of the series, who snuck in under the radar by invading the shadows, and by the time anyone realised it was too late, and they committed mass genocide. Our two unlikely heroes only survived because the 12th Doctor showed up and relocated them to Earth and told them to blend in. One night before the prom at Coal Hill Academy, both of them are forced to share their secrets to April as they come under attack again by the Shadow King, but this time April is caught in the crossfire using Miss Quill's displacement gun, which is locked so only Charlie can use it, which is a punishment to Miss Quill for being a rebel. The gun displaces the Shadow King's heart. This means that he bonds to April's heart as it phases through space-time. We also learn that Miss Quill has a genetically modified creature called an Un inside her head. This means that she must follow the prince's orders, protect him and do no harm. Meanwhile, Ram, who is coined as an athletic footballer with a promising future, is getting private tutor lessons in exchange for gaming currency from Tanya. This is when Ram notices something moving in the background, and you guessed it, Tanya comes under attack by the Shadow King. Later in class, they all realise that they've had an encounter with the Shadow King, and that the Shadow King must be after the Cabinet of Souls, which is an all-powerful Rhodian artifact that could be used to restore an entire race or destroy one, but only the Prince of Rhodia and Charlie can actually use it. Opting for safety in numbers, the whole group attends the prom because they realise that the Shadow King could easily just attack them at home. During the prom, April gets a vision and tries to warn the others, but she's too late, because this is when Ram's girlfriend gets dusted by a blade through her chest, and Ram gets one of his legs cleanly chopped off. So much for his hopes of becoming a professional footballer. Yeah, that ain't gonna happen. All hope seems lost until we hear the wheezing and the humming of the familiar sound of the TARDIS.
This is a bit of a mess, isn't it? I used to be the caretaker here, you know. Before it got all fancy, this is going to be quite a clean-up job. You've heard of me, haven't you?
You are the great destruction of the universe.
Yes, but most people just call me the Doctor.
The 12th Doctor forces a retreat by amping the lights in the hall, with light being one of the weaknesses of the Shadow King because they can only function in the shadows. Charlie and Miss Quill give chase to the Shadow King, and the others follow shortly behind. This results in April getting grabbed by the Shadow King in an attempt to take her back to his homeworld because he knows he can't survive without her. This is where Ram steps up and slaps the Shadow King around the head with a chair like he's watched too much WWE. The Shadow King falls backwards into the rift and the Doctor seals it up, and as you would imagine, Ram collapses due to blood loss. However, later the Doctor builds him a new one and also explains that time has now seen their face and time never forgets. Done perfectly as he looks at the memorial with Danny Pink's name on it and also Clara Oswald. The Doctor explains at this point that the Shadow King cannot actually return because he scrambled the path, although because the amount of Artron energy that is being used around the area, the school is now actually a weak point, meaning any kinds of monsters could come through the rift and they'll have to work together because he can't be everywhere at once. Which is funny because he probably caused this rift, let's be honest, especially during the events of Doctor Who Season 8, episode 6, entitled The Caretaker, where he messes with the Artron energy to defeat the Skovox Blitzer, not to mention the amount of times that he landed there and took off from there with Clara. Okay, so first things first, and probably what you're already thinking about, this show does have a little bit of an identity crisis, being a teen drama, but also being for the demographic of a plus 18 show. According to the sources that I read, this was intended to actually be like a Doctor Who spin-off, but without too much of the pre-existing stuff that we have already seen in Doctor Who, and utilize a few more creative ideas. I actually really like the pacing of this story and narrative. I think we're introduced to characters at a good steady rate. It's not too slow moving and we understand the main things that we need to know, and although some of the episodes later on can be a little bit offbeat, they do move slower in places. This episode definitely set down the foundation that was needed to be placed in order to head towards the finale. I really like the character development as well, especially with April and especially with Miss Quill. April eventually ends up developing powers because of her connection with the Shadow King. It is a shame though that they never got a chance to explore the full potential of that arc, considering that this show was cancelled after just one season. I think throughout the rest of the season, Miss Quill definitely carries the show, especially in the episode with the metaphysical engine where she's trying to get the Un out of her head. They actually visit the concept of Unheaven. Even though they shouldn't have a concept of heaven because they are genetically modified creatures, the metaphysical engine can actually turn concept into reality. There are some other neat concepts throughout the season, such as fighting against dragons, a plant monster that feeds on closure, cannibalistic flower petals, and being stuck in a classroom that is out of time and space with a meteor that brings out your inner demons and makes you tell the truth. Some of the ideas in this season are really original, and I want to see that metaphysical engine come back sometime soon, even if it's just in Doctor Who. One last note before we move on to the Easter eggs in this season. When it comes to episode 1, I find the tonality to be really awesome, especially when the Doctor arrives. Peter Capaldi's 12th Doctor literally just owns every scene. There's a massive uplift when he comes on the screen. You've got the Doctor Who music playing in the background. It's always amazing to hear the TARDIS as well. You'll have to mind my pun here, but he literally schooled them. Okay, it's Easter egg time, and we're starting with the foreshadowing of the displacement gun, which can be seen here. And I know we've just previously mentioned this, but we've also got that memorial with both Danny's and Clara's name on it. In episode 7 with the metaphysical engine, we also get a conversation about shapeshifters and the difference between Lore and Zygon. And we also get a shout out to the Zygons being protected on Earth to reinforce and to re-establish that they are actually connected to the Doctor Who universe. Also in episode 8 we get season 2 set up, and we get the scene with the Weeping Angel. It's a shame that we won't know how that turns out. And I think that's it for the major Easter eggs throughout the season, and my overall thoughts is that I do like Class, and it's a shame that we won't see season 2. The biggest issue of this show is that it's always going to be more of a niche market, and I believe its initial run wasn't popular enough for them to think that a season 2 was a good idea. All in all, I think the show has potential, and it's a shame that we won't see it. I definitely think it's better than a good handful of other shows that have some of the same concerns or issues, and I personally think it is worth watching and giving it a shot. Anyway, let me know down in the comments what you think of this BBC show. This has been the Any Good series official first episode of the TV edition. I guess we can kind of say / Doctor Who edition as well, because I do plan to look at a lot of Doctor Who here on this channel in regards to the Any Good series TV version. But anyway, with that said, I have been the one and only Tech Evolved, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.